Welcome back to After 40. I am so excited to bring Shara Goswick here today to speak with you about midlife and what it means to pivot from being a storyteller in books. She's authored 5 books to a storyteller of others in her podcast that she started 3 years ago. So her midlife journey is one of a pivot, but still remaining true to what she's always been interested in. So, welcome today, Shara. I'm really excited to hear about your journey. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Shara Goswick. I have been married for over 30 years. I've got 3 grown children and 2 grandchildren. I've always been a homemaker. I've had, different jobs throughout the years, but mostly I've been home. And it was after my kids were grown, and we still have one living with us. He is on the spectrum. But, my kids are grown. And once you are done raising kids, it's like, okay, now what? What do I do now? There was not ever anything that I aspired to be that I needed to go get a degree for. I've always loved being a mom, and I'm a grandmother now, and I like being available to my family and to the people in my life that need me. I love to serve at our church, or I volunteer at the local pregnancy center. I like being available. And so it wasn't a job that I really wanted, but I just had this desire because I love talking to people. I just love talking to people. I think I'm nosy, but I just like asking questions. Um, I just had this desire to have a podcast, and I actually bought a microphone and left it in the box for a few years because I would get excited thinking about it, and then I would talk myself out of it. I'm like, nobody wants to hear what I have to say. What am I going to talk about? And then I finally just thought, I'm either going to do it or I'm not. And so I just started talking about my life and things that I had been through, and, things that had happened to me. And then I was able to start interviewing people, and then I just was hooked. I couldn't stop.
How many podcasts have you done now in the past 3 years?
Okay, I numbered it weird. I don't know why I did this. I am on episode 288, but I have not done 288 episodes. Um, anyway, I think I've done like 130, close to 130,
That's a lot.
128 probably. Yeah.
That's a lot. Now, I know that you've written 5 books,
Mhm.
and I'd love to know a little bit about those and what they're about.
So most of my books are for children. Three of the books they're about a little girl, and they're about the Bible and about being afraid and about Christmas. And then I wrote a little devotional for girls. The biggest book that I wrote was about our son's journey with autism from the time he was diagnosed until he graduated from high school. And I've thought about getting back in and continuing the story because he's been out of high school for over 10 years. So I've thought about jumping in and continuing that one, but that's what they're about.
So, you have always been a passion follower. It
Hmm.
sounds like if you have a passion, you might let it sit for a little while, marinate, but you go
Yeah.
in and go for it.
Yeah.
There's
I,
so many people who think that midlife especially is a time when a passion feels frivolous. A passion feels like, I don't know that I should be indulging myself in that way, but you did just that. Your kids are out. You had a way of transitioning from writing to podcasting.
Mhm.
Do you feel like that is fulfilling that need for you, that passion?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love, one of the things I love is having people in my home. I love having people here to cook for them and to love on them. And I think the podcast is kind of the same thing. It's like I'm that nurturing gift that I want to make people feel comfortable and welcomed. I think is kind of the same thing. It's a different format, but it's kind of the same thing. So I think that's just kind of in me. It's just what I like to do.
I love that you put it that way, and I can hear the storyteller in you.
Hmm.
It is like having company over when
Hmm.
you're doing a podcast. It's like having people in your home
Yeah.
and having that conversation that you would have over a cup of coffee or over
Mhm.
dinner. And I think that people feel intimidated, like being a podcast host or a guest means that you have to come to the table with something really extravagant and bold. But really,
Right.
a podcast host is just mentoring. You're
Right.
you're getting people's expertise out there to everyone
Yeah.
else to share and enjoy and to hopefully ignite or inspire something in them to follow.
Sure. Sure. Absolutely.
So you have been doing the podcasting. Your kids are out. Is there anything else that you do besides podcasting and writing?
I volunteer at our pregnancy center once a week. I was a teen mom, and so it's important to me to kind of pour into these young women the way I had women in my life pouring into me. It's also like a mom thing. I kind of see them as my children, and I get to love on them. Um, that's other than taking care of my family and helping with my grandkids whenever I'm needed, and like I said, I like being available to help the people in my life. So that's really a lot of what I do. I stay really busy. But that's mostly what I do.
And it sounds like you've been someone who is a helper, and you say that
Mhm.
you're loving everyone, that you've been like that always, that was not a pivot for you. You've just found new ways of doing
Yes,
that,
that's right.
volunteering, podcasting, having people in and around in new different ways, and having your
Mhm.
grandchildren over. Is there any advice you could give to someone who's in midlife and says, "Oh, I don't know what to do with myself. My kids are out of the house.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what to do." Do you have any advice for them?
I would just think about the things that you love to do and do them. I mean, really, it's that simple. My husband, when he retires eventually, he wants to work at a nursery because he is passionate about gardening and about, I mean, he makes our home look beautiful. I have zero desire to do any of it, but it's all really pretty. I like looking at it. But he's passionate about it. He loves it. Find those things that you love to do. If you love working with kids, there's places you can volunteer at the library, or sometimes in schools they have places where you can go read to different students. Um, I mean, there's just so many different places you can jump in. It doesn't have to be a job. It doesn't have to be an income maker if you don't want it to be. Just find those things that you love to do. And I think there are opportunities everywhere for us to do them.
I think that's such good advice. I think that we can all do that, and it doesn't matter what you've been doing all along. Maybe
Right.
you like to sing or something like that. There's an example I have of a person who was an artist, and he wanted to go to the football games, the college football games, so he became a college football bus driver so
Oh,
that he could go
wow.
down and be on the field during the games.
That's a great idea.
Who would have thought of that? Like, how
Exactly.
clever. It's so completely different from art.
Right.
But, we all have a desire, that something that feels like it would be a luxury to us to be able to
Right.
do. And if there's a little clever thought about it, we can always do whatever we want, whether it's
Sure.
go to games, podcast, write books,
Yeah.
whatever we want. Um, my other question for you is, having authored books, um, how do you get your story out? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Do you mean the process of actually publishing and all of that? Is that what you're asking?
I'm more thinking of, if a person feels like they have a story in them, or they feel like they have something to say, is there any advice that you could give them about writing a book?
I am definitely not the most professional writer, but in all the authors that I've talked to, they all kind of said the same thing. Just start writing. Expect your first draft to be trash. I mean, that they've all said that. Just expect it because that's what happens. And then you go back and you can, edit or find people to edit for you and help you. But just start. I mean, nothing's going to happen until you start doing it. So I would say begin. Just
Yeah.
begin writing it out.
Maybe even doing some blogs, those are
Yeah,
easy to
sure.
do, and you don't have to make them live until you want to. You can write 10 of them
Absolutely.
and then press live when you want.
Absolutely.
You know, getting started on anything, like you held your microphone for a couple years,
Mhm.
right? I've done the same with everything, including writing, and the other projects that I've done. There's that intimidation factor that hits us all when we wanna try something that we feel passionate about, because failure feels like it could be a
Right.
big deal.
Mhm.
Um, is there anything that you see in your future besides what you're doing that you wanna try that you haven't yet?
I don't know. I don't know. My husband wants me to start, public speaking. That
Oh.
still scares me. I can sit in front of my computer and a microphone all day long and talk to people all day long, but standing on a stage still terrifies me. To me, it's very different.
I can absolutely relate to that.
Wow.
I just some advice that I have for you and anyone else is that, I got accepted to give a TEDx talk, which I thought was going to be a really
Wow.
this was 7 years ago,
Yeah.
or even 8 now, but I thought, "Oh my gosh," I never thought I would get accepted, so I never planned for anything.
Yeah.
And then I got it, and I said, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to get on stage," and jumping into a pile of snakes was more,
Right. I
that felt
understand.
refreshing
Yeah.
compared to getting up on a stage. So I decided to go teach at a local university
Oh,
and become an adjunct professor, and that is something that people could do. You can teach
yeah.
community ed, you could teach at a local university, you could go because 'cause you're standing in front of people. It's
Yeah.
kind of a stage. And then I never left. I just stayed there after starting to do it. I've been there, I think, 8 years now.
Yeah.
But I love that you said that. There's also Toastmasters that people can
Yeah.
do. I just joined that not long ago.
Oh, did you?
And even though I go out on stage and give talks, I would suggest it to anyone out there, yourself included, to check it out because it's people in your community who are supportive
Yeah.
of you to doing it. And if you don't do well, they don't shun you. They don't do anything
Right.
negative. They're really wonderful about
I'll
it.
have to look at that. I will say I did do this. I went to a conference last week and multiple people came up to me and said, Can I talk to you? Can I talk to you about how you got started with your podcast?" I mean, several people did. So I'm starting to round them up and I am going to do not really a class, but a Zoom call just to get people started. The
Right.
branding and the marketing and all those things, they have to look somewhere else for that because I'm not good at that. But just getting people started, sometimes that's all somebody needs.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit of direction. And so I am going to do that. I don't know if that will continue or if I'll do more with it, but I did I did offer that.
I love it. You mentor in so many different ways. And, your podcasting is mentorship, but now you're saying people are asking you for advice and guidance, and here you are mentoring them. I think that's so cool.
Well,
And,
thank you. Thank you.
I hope that I know people are gonna learn from you. You're a fabulous host.
You're
Um,
very kind. Thank you very much.
do you think you'll ever make a book out of all the life stories that you've compiled from your
That has come up multiple times. I've heard people do that, and so I have really thought about that because I've talked to some incredible people. Just I continue to be amazed at what people are doing all over the world, and it probably needs to be a book to tell their stories and get those out. So I don't know. It's a possibility. It's something I need to look into for sure.
I could see it being one. Do you have any stories that stand out? Life
Whew.
stories that really, you said, "Wow, I wasn't expecting this," or "This is much more than I thought it was going to be."
So many, so many. The things that have surprised me the most are when I find out about different ways people are helping those that are suffering that I would never have thought about before. One of them that stands out to me, there's a woman, Arazi Cook, started a nonprofit called Praline's Backyard Foundation. And what she does is she helps find foster families for animals, for pets, for
Wow.
women who are in domestic violence situations that are afraid to leave because they don't want to leave their pets. I
Wow.
never would have thought that was an issue. I mean, it just opened my eyes to that. And so things like that, when I find out that people are hurting in ways that it just never would have occurred to me, that has really just blown my mind.
Wow, and that people are
Yeah.
there solving problems
Yes.
that we don't even know about necessarily. I
Yeah.
didn't know about that either, but, it gives me
Yes.
chills. Anybody who loves their pets understands that.
It makes sense. It's not something I've ever thought about before.
Well, I applaud you. You have taken midlife by the horns and you are driving forward, mentoring, giving back, trying new things, following your passion, and engaging in the things that you love. And you're a perfect example of what we should all be doing, which is following our passions and throwing caution to the wind. If you have something that you really desire, that you should follow it. I hope that by next year I'll be able to see some of these either in a blog or a book
Yes.
format. I really thank you for coming on this show today and sharing your wisdom with us. Tell us, how can we find your podcast, find your books, and find more about you?
You are so kind. Thank you so much for having me. If you go to my website, all of my information is there, lifestoriespodcast.com. All the links to listen are there. My previous guests are there. My link to my books are there. Everything is on my website.
Well, I urge everyone to check out the podcast. It's really wonderful. And indeed, she does have all of the pictures of her most recent members that she's had on. So do check it out. She's a wonderful host, and you are going to get to hear stories from people's lives that are really going to blow your mind. So, again, thank you, Shara, for being on the show. And until next time,
Thank
take
you,
care.
Deborah.